Friends in the Forest. A story of how the animals became friends. Chapter 1, Meeting the Fox. The little rabbit decided to go for a walk in the forest. He had long dreamed of meeting the animals that lived there. When he became a little tired and decided to head back home, he heard strange sounds. The rabbit looked in the direction of the sounds and saw a big fox watching him. The little rabbit got scared and froze in place. The fox noticed that the rabbit was frightened and asked him not to be afraid because she had no intention of harming him. She introduced herself to the rabbit and told him about life in the forest. She explained that the animals living in the forest were not always as they seemed at first glance. The fox also taught the rabbit how to find his way home so that he wouldn't get lost again. The little rabbit was surprised that the fox was so kind to him, and he felt much better after he met her. The fox gave him some advice on how to be careful in the forest and taught him some interesting facts about the life of animals in the forest. After this encounter, the little rabbit was ready to continue his journey in the forest and visit other animals. Chapter 2, Meeting the Squirrel. The rabbit continued his walk through the forest and suddenly saw a small squirrel on a tree. The squirrel was very lively and quick, and the rabbit could not catch her. He asked the squirrel to stop, but she just frolicked and laughed. In the end, the rabbit got tired and sat down on the ground to rest. The squirrel saw that the rabbit was tired and stopped running. She jumped off the tree and approached the rabbit to find out why he was so tired. The rabbit told the squirrel about his walk through the forest and how he wanted to meet other animals. The squirrel smiled and offered to help the rabbit find other animals. She told him that she knew many interesting places in the forest and could show him some of them. The rabbit was very glad that the squirrel offered him her help, and they set off together in search of other animals. The squirrel showed the rabbit many interesting places in the forest, including places where delicious berries and nuts grew. The rabbit was very grateful to the squirrel for her help and for making his walk through the forest even more enjoyable. Chapter 3, Meeting the Hedgehog. The rabbit and the squirrel continued their walk through the forest and suddenly noticed a small hedgehog sitting at the base of a tree. The rabbit approached the hedgehog and asked to introduce themselves. The hedgehog was very cautious and didn't like it when someone approached him, so he was a little scared of the rabbit. However, the rabbit saw that the hedgehog was very cute and friendly, and asked him to help them find other animals. The hedgehog agreed and suggested they walk along a path that led to an old cabin. He explained that many animals like to gather there to talk and share news. The rabbit and squirrel were very happy that the hedgehog suggested such an interesting path, and they set off with him to the old cabin. Along the way, they saw many interesting things, such as beautiful flowers, large trees, and small streams. When they arrived at the old cabin, they saw many different animals who had gathered there to talk and play games. The hedgehog introduced the rabbit and squirrel to the other animals, and everyone was very happy to have new friends. The rabbit and squirrel spent a lot of time with the other animals, playing games and talking about different things. They were very grateful to the hedgehog for helping them find such wonderful friends and promised to come back again and again to spend time with them. Chapter 4, Meeting with the Owl. When the rabbit, squirrel, and hedgehog were talking to other animals in an old hut, they heard a strange sound that resembled the rustling of leaves. They looked up and saw a large, beautiful owl looking at them with her big eyes. The rabbit, squirrel, and hedgehog were a little scared because they had never seen such a big and beautiful bird before. But the owl smiled and greeted them. She said her name was Sophie and that she had been living in the forest for many years. Sophie asked the rabbit, squirrel, and hedgehog what they were doing in the forest, and they told her about their adventures. Sophie was very interested in their story and invited them to join her to watch the sunset. The rabbit, squirrel, and hedgehog agreed and followed Sophie to a tall tree where she usually spent her evenings. When they reached the top of the tree, they saw a beautiful view of the forest and the sky, which was painted in various shades of red, yellow, and orange. Sophie told them that it was the most beautiful sunset she had ever seen and that she often comes here to enjoy this view. The rabbit, squirrel, and hedgehog were also amazed by the beauty of the sunset and grateful to Sophie for sharing it with them. When the sun had fully set below the horizon, Sophie bid farewell to her new friends and flew away to spend her night hunting. The rabbit, squirrel, and hedgehog thanked Sophie for showing them such beauty and promised to come back to her the next time they were in the forest. Chapter 5, Meeting Other Animals. The day after meeting Sophie, the rabbit, squirrel, and hedgehog went into the forest to explore it even more. They met various animals along the way that lived in the forest. The first animal they met was a little mouse who was chasing her tail, happily burrowing into the ground. She was very pleased to meet the rabbit, squirrel, and hedgehog, and told them about her adventures in the forest. The mouse showed them her cozy little house made of leaves and moss, and treated them to some nuts. Next, the rabbit, squirrel, and hedgehog met a family of beavers who lived in a small pond in the forest. The beavers showed them their huge tree house and how they built it, chewing down trees with their teeth. The squirrel and rabbit were very impressed by these smart and hardworking animals. Then they met a group of beautiful butterflies flying around the blooming flowers. The butterflies were very beautiful and colorful, and the rabbit, squirrel, and hedgehog were enchanted by their beauty. They talked to the butterflies about life in the forest, and the butterflies told them how they transformed from caterpillars into beautiful butterflies. The rabbit, squirrel, and hedgehog learned about many other animals that lived in the forest, such as squirrels, owls, raccoons, and even a bear. They spent the whole day running through the forest, enjoying nature and learning new things. At the end of the day, when the sun began to set, they remembered the promise they made to Sophie and decided to return to her tree to watch the sunset. They made it to the tree and found Sophie sitting on a branch, watching the sunset. She greeted them and was happy to hear that they had spent the day making new friends. Chapter 6, Creating a Team of Friends. Once our team of animals gathered together and decided to create their own team of friends. Each animal suggested their own ability that would help the team become stronger and more successful. The fox was quick and agile, so she suggested being the team's messenger. The squirrel was nimble and skilled in hanging, so she suggested becoming an acrobat. The hedgehog was covered in prickles, so he suggested becoming an armored vehicle that could protect the team from any attacks. The owl was wise and knowledgeable about nature, so she suggested becoming the team's advisor. Each animal was able to contribute something to the team, and together they felt stronger and more confident. Every day, they trained together, improving their skills and becoming a more cohesive team. Soon the Friends team became famous in the forest, and many other animals wanted to join them. They came to the conclusion that the more friends they had, the better. They happily welcomed new members to their team and became even stronger. Thus, the team of friends in the forest became an example of a strong and cohesive team, where each animal contributed to the common cause and together achieved high results. The story of the Friends team in the forest teaches children about the importance of friendship, cooperation, and respect for others. It also shows that diversity is good and that everyone can contribute to the team, regardless of their strengths and weaknesses. That's all. Our fairy tale has come to an end. Thank you for watching, my little audience. Yours truly, Anfisa Korsakova. I would be very happy if you subscribe to my channel. Thank you, my little listeners.